let me introduce Will. Some of you met him before. He's spoken here before. He is amazing, but he's going to be doing today for us the ultimate buyer consultation, your guide to streamline processes and happy clients. So we're going to be talking today how to streamline your processes and ensure client satisfaction. Things like rapport building to closing deals. How do you go from building rapport to getting the deal closed? He's going to be giving you actionable strategies to elevate your real estate business. And that's what we're all looking to do. Sell more houses, have more free time, and basically have more fun. Because, Will, as we know down in Nashville, right? If you ain't having fun, you ain't doing it right. Is that right, Will?
There's a lot of good times in Nashville, brother. A lot of good times. You
Well,
may
I
not
tell you,
remember them all, but there's a lot of good times.
the last time you spoke, I got so much of it. So I'm going to be taking notes. I want everybody to know if you have questions, you can put it in the chat box. We'll take some as you go, or you can raise your hand and we'll have you unmute and ask it if it's too much for you to type. If you're driving, don't take your hands off the wheel, guys. But I'm going to let Will take it from here. Will, tell us how to make more money with buyers.
Listen, this buyer's consult that I've got is, I'll put it up against anything out there. I mean, I've got to teach this at Tom Ferry. I've gotten to teach this at other, major organizations out there, and probably 11, 12,000 agents across the country I've got to do this training for. Now, I'm going to preface this. We are going to be going lightning fast. I'm basically combining about 4 different trainings into one. So this is going to be a little bit high level. And if we need to go more in depth into some other areas later on, we can do that. And I'm more than happy to do that. But let me start by saying why this is so important. One, obviously, the changes that are happening in the buyer industry, the changes that are happening with real estate agents. And if we don't connect with our clients, somebody else will. So I got started doing this, and again, we're going to go down through multiple different things. I got started doing this because I worked with a client, and this was probably my 2nd year in real estate. I worked with a client, and we went and showed properties all over the place. And when I say all over the place, I mean, we were going searching for land an hour away here, an hour away there for 3 months. And I could tell that their satisfaction with what I was doing kept going down and down and down and down. And again, I mean, it was 3 months worth of time wasted, and we hadn't found what they were looking for. Come to find out, the husband was wanting this land, right? And he was wanting to have chickens and cows and this 40 acres. And the wife kept finding problems with all the houses we were looking at. And I was like, what's going on? Why are you, what's happening? Come to get everything out, she was wanting a condo in downtown Nashville. She didn't want all this land. Her husband was a truck driver. She was going to be, having to take care of all the animals while he was gone. And she was like, I don't want this. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this, to where we can find people properties much faster, much higher satisfaction rate. And now, I mean, I get so many clients that are coming from other agents where they got frustrated, where they were looking for houses for 3 months, 6 months, sometimes 2 years. And I mean, I'm closing on a house next week. It's like a $1.4 million property that they had been with another agent, had been looking for 6 months, couldn't find a property, out of state buyers. So every time they were flying in from North Carolina to Nashville, they were just wasting time. We ended up finding them the house that they're buying, that they're closing on, the very first house that they looked at. So your ROI goes through the roof. So let's get right to it. I would ask, because we're covering so much material in a short period of time, my goal is to get finished with this in about 45 minutes. That we hold off some of the questions until the end. It'll make a little bit more sense. So if I could ask that would be fantastic. So, all right, let's get right into it. So the 10 reasons to do a buyer's consult. The first is to find out what your buyers want, obviously. The second is to help your buyers prioritize what they want. And I think a lot of people stop at the first one, right? Like, So they may have their own sheet and they're finding out, okay, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, ranch, no more than, X amount of dollars, and they're finding out that information. Guys, that's not going to get you, what you need. You need to help your buyers prioritize what they want. So that way they're not calling you back a year later saying, hey, we found out we really don't like this house. We want to get a different house. To set expectations and take control. So you're the authority figure. Also discover who the decision maker is. Like, who are you really talking to? Who's going to be the one deciding to buy the house? Sometimes it's the male, sometimes it's the female. Sometimes, who knows who the partner is. Find commonality and build trust and rapport. This is for future referrals. Gives you an opportunity to show how much you care about them. Gives you the opportunity to come across as the expert. Saves time for you and your buyers and increases your hourly rate. Number 9, safety. So that way you have an idea of who you're dealing with. I mean, especially if you're working internet leads, you have no idea who that person is on the other side. We're seeing that a lot more, obviously, with sellers who are people who are selling houses that aren't even their own. That's a whole different discussion, but also to provide an excellent experience. So it helps to set the tone for the whole transaction, because if they're leading you around, if they're finding houses online and they're like, we're going to go see this house and we're going to go see this house, and you're just basically a door opener, you provide no value and you're always anxious that they're going to go use somebody else. And they very well may, because you're not providing something that somebody else can't provide. So here's the order and flow of a buyer's consult. And again, this is a completely separate training that I threw this in just for as kind of a bonus of if you, and I'm took some notes from last time. Some of the stuff I was covering was a little bit too high level, and remembering that we've got some agents on here that are newer agents, some agents that maybe have a year or 2 years of experience or less. So when you're doing a buyer's consult and you're sitting down, this is how the ebb and flow should be. So warm up 5 minutes or less. You don't need to be spending an hour talking to them about their cat and dog and this or that. I mean, they're there for business. You have to remember that, but you want to build a little bit of rapport. About 5 minutes or so should be good. Goal is to get them asking questions about your life. The second step is to go over the meeting agenda. This should take a couple of minutes to get a tie down. Does that sound good? Again, this helps to establish you as the authority figure. Past experiences. This third step, if you're not doing this, I don't understand. So, because they're going to give you the combination, right? They're going to give you, you look at it like a safe. They're going to give you the combination to what it's going to take to provide a great experience for them. And it comes down to asking a few questions on the front end. So what do they want and don't want in a realtor? The past is a good indication of the future. Questions are the best way to go. Tell us about your last real estate transaction. So you're getting an idea. Are you working with a first-time home buyer, or are you working with somebody who's bought 25 homes? It's a much different conversation that you're having. And so you got to have an idea of who your audience is. How did your experience go with that realtor? What are some things that they did really well that you liked? What are some things that they did that you didn't like? Finding out how they want to communicate. Do they want to communicate via text? Do they want to communicate via email? Do they want to communicate via phone call? How do they want communications to go? And also it gives you a chance to set proper expectations for them. So if you don't work on Sundays and your work days are, say, from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m., let them know, if you call me after 7 p.m., I'll get to you, first thing the next morning. So that way they know what they're dealing with, and you have an idea of what's going to make them happy. And they'll spill their guts. They'll tell you what those things are. Next step will be to launch into the top 9, which is going to be a little bit of the focus of what we're going to be talking about today. So once they give you a list, and we'll go through the top 9, and this will make a little bit more sense once we've gone through that. But so once they give you a detailed list of items that they're wanting in the house, show the past 45 days of closed business to set expectations. So if they're wanting, we talked about this 3-bedroom, 2-bath, say it's a $300,000 ranch house, we'll show them houses that closed around, other 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in whatever city, to kind of show expectations. And I liked, especially in markets where houses are selling really fast, So if you take a market 2 or 3 years ago, I mean, I was cherry picking some of those, not to be, you know, to be dishonest, but to set expectations that, hey, if we like something, we may need to write an offer on it before we go to the next showing, if it's one of your favorite houses, to show them, hey, this is how many of, you know, we may show them 10 properties. 8 of the 10 properties that you liked that are, you know, that closed last month, they went under contract the first day or the first week or the first month. So that way they get a good idea of how fast are we going to have to move in this transaction. And if in your market, it's common for houses to be going for over asking price, or even within that subdivision, if it's common to be going over asking, then to show them that. So that way they don't feel like they're not getting a deal on the front end. Pull up what is available. And again, this kind of goes to showing, you know, this is what's currently available on the market. I don't spend more than 10 minutes on this. I mean, it's just to give them a little bit of an overview. My goal is to make the whole buyer's consult less than an hour. And that's with all of the steps that are in there. Make an action plan. Thanks so much for the information you've given me today. Here's what we're going to do going forward. Have them sign a buyer's rep agreement, and you know, and then ask them at that point, how do you want to communicate? Is text okay? Send a group text. And then, you know, go from there. So this piece right here, I do a whole training just on this piece, and this is incredibly important. We're going to spend a little bit more time on this, the dominant buying motive piece. So people buy off of emotions, not logic. They're buying an emotion that they want to achieve, not a house. So there's different things that they may give you that they want in a house. So let's say, well, let's go down through the different dominant buying motives first, and then we'll kind of go how they relate to the items that they give you on the list. So they're buying a house to achieve one or maybe two of these different things on this list: safety and security, legacy, significance, comfort and convenience, fear of loss, financial gain, or for relationships. Why is this important? Like, why is this important to know when they're going to buy a house? It has to do with connection. We're trying to get ultimately a level 3 connection, and I'll explain that a little bit later. If you get a level 3 connection with them, you're their realtor for life. You don't have to worry about who else is in the market. They're going to use you for the next 20, 30 years, and there'll be a walking billboard with bright neon lights advertising who you are. So let's give an example. So let's actually, if we want to have in the chat, give an example. If you guys want to have a feature, I'll give to kind of start it off to give you guys an example. So let's talk about, say, a gated subdivision. What are some reasons? So if somebody gives you, hey, I want a gated subdivision, what are some reasons why somebody may want a gated subdivision?
Safety, security, and exclusivity, and relationships.
100%. So safety and security, right? Like, who knows what kind of trauma that they might have experienced, you know, at some point in their life, that they may have, they may be like, look, I just want that extra layer to make sure nobody's driving through my neighborhood that doesn't belong here. And, you know, so some of them may be gated, some of them may be gated with a guard at the front end. Some of it may be for, you know, for privacy sake. So you also mentioned, what else did you mention other than safety and security?
Exclusivity and relationships. So your number 7 is relationships. So being in that gated community is kind of an exclusive, creates exclusivity, which could then further relationships.
Yeah. Significance too, right? Like to advertise to their friends, like you were talking about, you know, when they're at whatever event that they're at, to say, hey, I live in this neighborhood, and people know that that neighborhood is gated, it kind of lifts them up a little bit. So if somebody, say, has a pool in their backyard, what are some different reasons somebody might want to have a pool in their backyard? So significance could go along with that, right? To say, yeah, I've got a, this pool or with a slide in my backyard. It could be for legacy, right? So for their kids to have great memories growing up and for them to be remembered fondly. Maybe they've got grandkids and their grandkids are coming over there. So to be able to create great memories with them and to be remembered, fondly later on in years. For the comfort and convenience, if they don't want to go to a community pool, to be able to have that, to be able to relax at the end of a hard day. Maybe some people like to lay out by the pool and relax. Relationships, to be able to have get-togethers near the pool, to have the kind of that community spot on the outside. So when people are giving you features of a house that they're wanting, it could be anything. It could be a bonus room. It could be a certain area of town that they're wanting to live in. Take a look at those features and try to go a little bit deeper on why they're wanting those different items. Because if you don't know the why on what they're choosing those items, again, the last thing you want to be working with buyers is just a door opener, where basically you're just serving an order and they're telling you, hey, I want to go see this house, and the value that you provide is to open the door, and maybe you're a good negotiator, but they kind of have that expectation of an agent that they're going to be able to give them access to a property and be a good negotiator. And you're not really forming a connection or a relationship with people by doing that. But yeah, taking a look at these items, and if you can lock in, if it's a couple, it may be different items. Like for one, it may be safety and security for one, it may be legacy for another. So finding that information out can be huge. When I'm doing the top 9, this is literally what I bring. I bring a piece of paper that I have filled out already for myself. This is what it looks like. And it's a blank piece of paper. And the reason why I do this rather than having a bunch of stuff filled out, I used to have like 5 pages, right? And it was kind of fill in the blank, what's your budget? What neighborhood are you wanting to be in? What are blah, 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 blah. And it felt very transactional. This allows for an actual conversation to take place. It's very casual. It can be done anywhere. It can be done at a coffee shop. I can do this online via Zoom. I can do this, wherever. And we're talking to each other instead of them just filling out a list like they're going to a doctor's office, filling out their medical history. So on the top 9, I've got a sheet, right? And if there's
My parents.
I'm sorry? So typically there's a husband and a wife, right? So I'll give them each a sheet to fill out, or they'll have a blank piece of paper and they'll fill out on the blank piece of paper, top 9 at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, they've got absolutes, really wants, and would likes. Now, the important thing when they're filling this out is they fill it out separately. Why do I have them fill it out separately and they cannot look at each other's answers? So even if I know that my wife really wants, say she's got horses and she really wants land to put those horses on, I'm having them fill out this piece of paper as if we're only getting what they want. And why this is important is there's always somebody that's more dominant in the relationship, right? There's one person typically that's a little bit more of the caregiver, and there's one person that's a little bit more of the dominant and the decision maker. This gives me the chance to take what they both want in a property and put it together in one master list. So once they've both filled out this top 9 on what they really want, I put it together into one master list. I take a picture of it with my phone. I text it in a group text, and every time we go look at a house, we're looking at this top 9. And I tell them on the front end, if the property that we go to take a look at doesn't have at least 6 of these 9 items on here, we're not making an offer on it. So what does that do? That helps to build trust. That tells them that I'm on their side, that tells them I'm going to help them from making a bad decision. I'm going to help them from giving me a call a year later saying we really didn't want this house. It helps them to keep from getting distracted from, I think especially with first-time home buyers, but it happens with experienced home buyers. Like they may have something in a house that, really catches their eye. It could be a huge island, or it could be some feature in the house. They're like, we want to put an offer on this house. Well, it only hits 4 out of your top 9. We're not going to put an offer on this house. Like you're not going to be happy with this house later on. So we're doing this buyer's consult in a non-emotional environment before they get excited and they're walking into a house. And I tell them also on the front end, I'm going to talk you out of more houses than I'm going to talk you into. Like this is our master key that we're going to go by. So let me explain to you about the different categories of absolutes, really wants, and would likes. So your absolutes are your items that are your non-negotiables. So let me give you an example of that. So if I had a client not long ago that recently had hip surgery, right? He said, I can only be in a 1-level house. Am I going to show him a 2-level house that has, all the features that he's wanting, other features, and it could be $50,000 below appraisal, and it could be the best thing since sliced bread. If it's on his absolutes and it's a 1-bedroom or it's a 1-level, that's an absolute for me. I'm not showing them any properties that are 2 bedrooms or two levels. Some other examples of absolute. Some people have financial constraints. Maybe they're only pre-approved up to this number. If they're only pre-approved up to X number, why am I showing them houses that are over, hoping that I can negotiate the price down? I mean, I'm going to stay within their budget, and I'll tell them, look, if you tell me, 800,000 is your absolute, and you can't get money from, your sister or whoever to go over that, even if I find you the perfect house. But a lot of times you'll find that price isn't end up being one of the absolutes. Sometimes it's school district. Sometimes it's, I'm not driving any more than 30 minutes to get to work. I don't care how great the house is. I'm not driving more than, X number of things. For some people, it goes, back to the safety and security thing. It could be if there's power lines in the backyard, or if there's a lot of traffic or a lot of noise. I've had people where their absolute was they had to be on a cul-de-sac because they had small kids and they wanted them to feel safe to be outside. So the absolutes are non-negotiable. If they tell me minimum square footage is 3,000 square feet, I'm not, and I tell them, I will not show you a house that has 2,998 square feet. If you tell me it's in the absolutes, I'm taking your word for it. So the really wants are items that maybe are not non-negotiable, but they're very important for them. And they're a little bit expensive to do after the fact. So for an example of that might be an open floor plan. So can we make a house that's not an open floor plan into an open floor plan? Yeah. I mean, I've got tons of contractors that can go in and do that. It's expensive to do, but if they're wanting, say, a lot of land and we're having a hard time finding the house, maybe the land, the acreage, the privacy, it has the things that are in their absolutes, but the house just isn't perfect. Are they willing to take one that doesn't have an open floor plan? Yeah, but it's something that they really want and it'd be expensive to do after the fact. Items that fall into the would likes, man, this is so important to go over. This is so important. The items that fall into would likes are items that are relatively easy to do after the fact that are not deal breakers for a house. So, and some examples of that might be, if they want hardwoods throughout. Guys, we know as agents, it's pretty easy to do that. And it doesn't take a month to put hardwoods into a house. It's not like, that's challenging. Or if they want granite countertops, or if they want a fence in the backyard, we can do that after the fact. Or if they want, you know, a certain paint color, or they want, I mean, it's kind of silly sometimes what people, or if they want to shop, you know, in the backyard. It's kind of silly what sometimes reasons people won't buy houses. But if you set the expectation on the front end that that's falling into a category that we can do later on, it changes their mindset, and they're like, oh, okay, well, this, you know, maybe doesn't have the kitchen cabinets that I want in here, but we can change that after the fact. That would be under the wood likes. So understand that when you're combining those two lists, you're combining two people's dreams together into one list. And if you don't take the time to do that, what ends up happening is that one person may have, you know, 15, 20 items that they want in a house. The other person may have 15, 20 items that they want in a house. So now you've got, you know, 30, 40 items, and you're searching around everywhere going to this house and this house. Well, it doesn't have this item. It doesn't have this item. Well, that may be, if you put all of them together, number 38 out of 40 items on a list, you know, that's so far down, but it didn't have that item and they're choosing not to buy this house. It's like, that's craziness. So part of having that explanation is to tell them, look, like, we're not going to find a house that has 50 things. Our expectations going into this is we're not going to place an offer on the house if it doesn't have at least 6 of these 9 items. If it has 7 of the 9 items, we'll consider it. 6 or 7, we'll consider it. 8, we're likely going to be placing an offer on a house. I'm going to be honest with you. The chance of having 9 out of 9 items on this list is like seeing a leprechaun riding on a unicorn. Like, it's just not going to happen. But if we find that, we're likely going to put an offer on that house before we even go see the next house. So when I'm sending them a list of properties to go look at, I don't go look at top 10 properties, period. I'll send them a list of, say, 6 properties. And maybe if there's a lot of stuff that's falling within that market, I'll send them maybe a list of, you can send them 10 properties. You could even send them 15 properties. I'll take the time on the front end for each property that I'm sending them to say, hey, this has 7 out of your top 9. It doesn't have this one and this one. This property has 8 out of your top 9. It doesn't have this one and this one. And I'll send them, say I'll send them 12 properties, okay? I'll make them narrow that list down to their top 6. So we're interacting, right? Like, I'm like, why do you want to look at 1,000 properties? You don't want to look at 1,000 properties. You want to look at the very best ones that fit your criteria. So if they're sending me properties, I'm evaluating it based off of this list on the top 9. And if it doesn't have one of their absolutes, we're absolutely not going to look at it. And I'll call them out on it. Not in a bad way, but I'll be like, look, you just had hip surgery. This is a 2-story house. We're not going to go take a look at it. Like, I'm leading the transaction, but in a helpful way, right? Like, they're hiring us for a reason. So I'll send them, you know, maybe 10, 15 properties. We'll go look at 6. If they're pushing hard, I may allow them up to what I call them 2 bonus properties. So we may go look at 8 properties that day. So let's say we've narrowed it down to 8 properties. I'm going to have them from those 8 properties. I'm going to be like, I want you to put an order from 1 to 8, which properties you like the best. Out of just the pictures from what I've sent you online, which properties do you like the best? And we're going to go look at your number 1 property first. So we've taken however many properties are out there. Let's say there's 500, 1,000 properties that are on, you know, the MLS in your market. We've narrowed it down to the 6 or 8 best properties that fit your criteria. So there's no reason for us to go looking tomorrow, because why do we want to look at house number 15 on the list of best properties out there that fit your criteria? There's no reason to do that, right? So we're going to go look and you're picking them out, right? Like I sent you 12 or 15 properties. You're picking out which are your 6 or 8 favorites from those. And then you're putting them in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to go look at your number one property first. Don't be surprised. Have the expectation this is the one you're going to buy. Why? Because I've already done the research to narrow it down that these are the best 12, 15. You've narrowed it down even further to say this is the best 6 or 8. And then you've identified as this is probably your number one. We'll still go look at the other ones, but don't be surprised if the number one property is the one you end up buying. Because we've done the homework, right? We've done the homework on the front end. We've taken what you like, we've taken what you like, we put it into a master list. We see, oh my goodness, like the first property we're going to see has 8 out of your top 9 that you really like. These are the most important criteria that you're looking at. And oh my goodness, I know you talked about this item and this item, and they didn't make it on the top 9 list, right? Because we're not going to be able to have everything from both lists. But look, this shop that you said that we didn't make the list, this one actually has a shop on it too. And oh, that 3-car garage you said you wanted, which didn't make the list, this house has that as well. So, so they go in with the expectation that, hey, this is going to be our house. They don't feel like they're missing out. They don't feel like you're trying to shortchange them by not showing them, other houses that are available out there. So this top 9, it can take as little, just doing this top 9, I can get this done in 15 to 30 minutes. So this doesn't have to be a long buyer's consult, right? Like they have the sheet of paper, they fill it out. It generally takes them 5 to 10 minutes to fill it out, another 5 to 10 minutes to combine the list together. And this doesn't take forever to do the top 9, 5 to 10 to explain it. So we're talking 15 to 30 minutes to do this. And this is absolutely life-changing in the buyer experience. So last slide we're going to cover, and then we'll open it up for some questions. This is why we're doing all of this stuff. Why we're doing all of the slides that we were doing beforehand is to get here, right? Our goal is to get to a level 3 connection. And I'm going to give you 2 real life examples of what that looks like. So level 1, this is where I would say 95% of agents, maybe more than that, are at, if I'm being honest. And I don't like that. Like the reason I'm doing this, like obviously the speakers that get on here, we're not paid to do this. Like I'm not expecting a bunch of, referrals. I'm doing this to better the industry, right? Like when people look at us, they don't look at us as used car salesmen or look at us, as somebody that's just trying to get a quick commission check. I want us to look at it as someone that's, look, we're going to have a very positive impact on your life. We're going to find you a great place to create memories with your family, a great financial investment. We have a lot of value. So unfortunately, most agents out there, I would put in the level 1 category. They'll never be referred to more than just as kind of an acquaintance, a door opener, no real value, easily replaceable. Do a standard buyer's consults, bed, bath, price. They'll let them send them properties and they'll just go show whatever the buyer sends them to go show. You're not adding any value. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Level 2 is where you get to be a friend. So this is where you're likely to get referrals. You are seeking to understand what features are a priority by doing the top 9. Pick an item or 2 in their absolutes in the top 9. And they're feeling like you are different than other agents and you're a professional. So like if you're telling them, hey, from what I'm understanding, why this feature is so important to you is because you really value safety and security, or legacy is important to you, or relationships is something that's really important to you. And talk about the dominant buying motives and say, I really want to understand not only what you're choosing, but why you're choosing that. They'll see you at a whole different level and see you more as a professional. Level 3, if you get to a level 3 connection with somebody, you're like family. You're beyond a friend. You're the realtor for life. They're never using anybody else. I don't care what agent comes in your market, what advertising they do. You get to a level 3 connection, and this can take place. the first time you meet somebody. So how do those features affect them as a human being? This is very deep and personal. I mean, I've had a lot of buyer's consults where people were crying, either happy tears or sad tears, like a deep connection with them. They rarely go to this level with most people, and they don't want to go to this level because it's like emotionally exhausting to really kind of get the guts out of what the house means to them and why and a lot of the stuff they don't even realize, right? Some of this stuff could be on a subconscious level that you're bringing up to them on why they're choosing a particular house. And you're now connected in a way that's closer to some of their family, and they feel like you're on their side. So I'm going to give a quick example on the buy side and sell side of what it looks like to get a level 3 connection. And then we're going to open up some of the questions. So there was a buyer that I worked with not long ago. This was an older lady, right? And on her absolutes, pay attention to what goes number 1 on that list. So number 1 on her list was an indoor fireplace, right? So I'm asking her, right? So level 1, hey, you want an indoor fireplace? You know, we'll make sure that we find that for you, right? That's very superficial. Again, going back to being a door opener, I'll send you properties that have an indoor fireplace. Level 2. So I got a level 2 connection with her. This is what level 2 looks like. Level 2 is, okay, tell me about that fireplace. Why is the fireplace so important to you? What about the fireplace really? And she's like, well, when I was a kid, we used to celebrate Christmas around my grandmother's fireplace. And we had so many great memories. We would sing songs. We had a piano in there and just opening the presents and it was just phenomenal. She goes, that's some of the best memories that I had as a kid was Christmas time at grandma's, you know, around the fireplace. Okay, great. So now we're going to go to level 3. What does level 3 look like? Okay, so if we can't find a house that doesn't have, you know, a good fireplace in it, how does that affect your life? Like, what does that mean to you? And she literally, like this, she was in her like mid-70s. She's sitting there, we're at a coffee shop. She starts crying, like tears are coming down her face. And she's like, I'm afraid that if I don't have the right, you know, space or the right living room that has the right fireplace in it, my kids won't come over for Christmas and they won't remember me the same way that I remember my grandmother. Boom. Like that hits you, right? So legacy is her dominant buying motive. That's why she's buying this house. She's not buying a house to have a roof over her head. She already had a roof over her head. She's buying this because she wants to create memories with her grandkids. That's the whole reason why she's buying this. So do you think that we showed her any houses that didn't have a fireplace? Absolutely not, right? Like I got a level 3 connection with her. So every house we go into, where's the first place that we go to? We go right into the living room. If it was still furnished, we sat down on the couch. We sat there. I'm like, Mrs. Adams, what do you think? How does this feel? Does this room feel like you could have Christmas in here and create memories with your grandkids? And if the answer was no, we got up. We didn't even see the rest of the house. We're going on to the next house. Like, we're not wasting time spending time in a house that doesn't have her absolutes. And do you think that she felt understood? Do you feel like she felt cared for? Do you feel like I had her priorities in mind? 100%. And so when we're talking about a house, we're talking about that living room and that fireplace. And do you think it was hard to sell her on a house that had a living room with a fireplace that would create those? Absolutely. I mean, it was sold already. Then it just came to negotiate the prices. So quick story on the list side. I had somebody recently that was selling a house, right? And it was an internet lead. I think it was like a Zillow lead. And anyways, I met with this couple and the husband and wife were at odds. The husband wasn't wanting to sell the house. The wife was wanting to sell the house. And I'm like, tell me why you're wanting to sell the house. And they're like, well, you know, we want to get our kids into a different school district. We want to get our son in a different school district. Okay, that's level 1. It's very superficial. You could be like, okay, what school district do you want? XYZ school district. Okay, I'm going to get you in that school district, no problem. That's very superficial. Level 2 is a friend. So what's level 2 at that situation? Tell me what's so important about this new school district. Is your son an athlete? Is he in the band? Is he, they have activities? Is it better rated school? They said, no, right now our son is being bullied in the school that he's in right now. Wow, right? That's something that's level 2. That's much. Now I understand a little bit better why you want to get to this different school district. So what does level 3 look like? And again, I'm flying here, right? Like I'm flying right now through this presentation. I'm not going as in depth as what I could be, but I'm trying to give you all tons of content here. Level 3, I found out that their son, I got a little bit deeper. I'm like, okay, because the dad was like, we're not selling below this price. And I knew the price was like 50 grand over what this house should sell for. And again, I just met these people, right? Like this is an internet lead, just met these people. So the husband's like, we're not giving this house away. We're going to get this price, or we're not selling. And this was like June, right, of last year. So anyways, he's, talking about selling this house, and come to find out, I'm like, what happens if we don't sell? So I asked the question, what happens if we don't sell? Because I'm trying to get to level 3. Come to find out their son had tried to commit suicide last year because the bullying was so bad, right? That's deep, right? That's a level 3 connection. So then I'm having a hard conversation with them, and I'm like, so what you're telling me is that if we don't sell this house and your son stays in the same school next year, he's going to be at high risk to commit suicide again, try to commit suicide. What you're telling me, sir, is you're telling me that the $50,000 for this house is worth more than your son's life. You just put a price on your son's life. I just met you. I'm just making an observation. Like the wife is crying, hitting her husband. I think it kind of hit him what was going on. And he's like, do whatever you got to do to sell the house. Price it wherever you need to price it. We're going to get it sold. And we did, right? We got it sold. It actually wasn't far off from the price that they wanted, but that's an example of a level 3 connection on the sell side. So, but that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to figure out the root cause, the emotion of why they're wanting to move in the first place, because moving sucks. You got to pack, you got to, it's stressful. Why are we putting ourselves in that situation? There's an emotion that's driving that, and you got to find out what that is, what their dominant buying motive is, get a level 3 connection with them through the top 9. You're done. It's over. They're your client for life. So I'm done. I appreciate you guys being patient to let me get through all this material. Now,
well, that was absolutely
here.
powerful, my man. I mean, this level 3 connection and the top 9, I mean, worth the price of admission today. Great stuff on that. I know people are going to have some questions on that. If you have questions, go ahead. Now is your time to, you can either raise your hand and we can do it, or you can put it in the chat box, however you guys want to do it. Great stuff on that. As you know, we do record this because Will flew through it, but it was great. It wasn't too fast, really, Will. It was great hitting the bullet points and then having people maybe to be able to ask and dig back in on that. But great stuff on it. That was great. So Luana Albrecht says, how do you entice them to meet? Or this is a great question because I know where this is going. How do you entice them to meet or sit with you for an hour for consultation? As I find most are too excited to see houses, do not want to focus on this conversation of needs versus wants or the financing part. In this immediate gratification society, I have seen buyers move in the past 10 years to do just the fun part, which is looking at houses that they have already shopped for online. So, Will, how do you get them to sit down?
That's a great question. So it depends on what category they fall into. So if you have no relationship with them whatsoever, right? Like this isn't even a referral. This is maybe an internet lead. You have no basis, no leverage. I'll go show the first house with them and I'll be like, look, we really need to do a buyer's consult. I can get it done in 15, 30 minutes and it'll save you, weeks, if not months of looking for the house, and also make sure that you find the right house. The house that we find is so important because that's where you're going to be creating the memories with your family. When you get off from work, that's a place where you're going to be relaxing, and you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars. This doesn't need to be done flippantly. It doesn't need to be done off of, oh, I saw this house, I love it, let's place an offer on it. How do you know that that's the best house? I'm the expert. I do this every day. I want to help you. We'll go check out the first house first. If it's not the right house for you, I'm going to bring along some paper on the kitchen table or island. We're going to go ahead and do a buyer's consult there with you, because obviously if you can't find it on your own, you need my help, and we might as well knock it out while we're already together. So for people that I have a relationship with, I'm like, look, if it's a referral, I'm like, this is how I do business. Like, do you go into a doctor's office and you know, just sit down and then they take you to surgery? No, like, this is something that's important. We need to have a conversation about it and not just go willy-nilly to go look at something. I'm telling you, if I'm going to help you, 15 to 30 minutes, it's like the Geico commercial, can save you, you know, 15 to 30 days of looking on your own. Leverage me, leverage my expertise, and you know, you'll be blown away by the results. So,
Well, I love that. And that's great that this is recorded so people can go back and hear that. But you're absolutely right. Your attorney, your doctor, your mechanic, right? Anybody, your accountant, they all have an intake process that they use to take in so that they can service you the best. And why shouldn't we either? We want to get paid like those professionals. We should have an intake process too.
yeah, you
So
don't go to
that,
your financial advisor and they're like, I want to retire. And they're like, okay. And then you leave and they just put, you know, you're just like, I want to put money into stocks. Well, if you don't even understand bonds or life insurance or real estate or all the other things that are out there and how they fit together, you know, I don't even, yeah. So you're right.
no, that's great. I love it. Those analogies like that really set it in their head because, you know, there's a lot of agents out there that are unprofessional, right? And so because of that, our industry has been damaged, and people view us, you know, as a, you know, I'm a glorified used car salesman, right? Where we're just going out and just sticking them and test driving them in the house until they find one that they like. I agree. This is great. I think it
Yeah. And
actually increases our value by having an intake system to take them in.
I think telling them, look, I'm not a door opener. I'm a professional. And that, you know, I'm here to create a great experience for you. I'm here to build a relationship. I want to be a realtor for life. I'm not here just for a transaction and a quick commission. If I was, show me the house, you know, you want to buy it, you know, I can make a quick buck. That's not what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for to have a very positive impact on your life.
I love it. Those words, those are power words, guys, he's using there. And Tom Ferry would not have him speak if he wasn't having an impact on that. So Will Johnson, great stuff. Luana, great question. Who else has a question? Look, if it's in your mind right now, somebody else is thinking it. They're just too afraid to ask it. So go ahead, step up. You can either type it in the chat or you can unmute and ask it. We can do it that way too, if especially if you don't want to type it all out, if it's a little more involved. We got Will Johnson here with us out of Nashville, Tennessee. Well, where's your best Tennessee accent? I didn't hear any in there.
Man,
can
I'm
you
from
say?
Wisconsin, you know,
Okay.
so probably can pull a little bit more of that out, but I was in the military for about 14 years, so it's kind of all over. So yeah, may not have the typical Tennessee accent.
Well, we say in our house, freedom is not free. Somebody fought and died for that, so don't give it up. I love it. Can you say y'all for us once, just so I can hear it?
Y'all.
What's the difference between you all and y'all? There's like a difference, right?
Right. If you're from the north, I think you may say more you all, maybe.
Okay,
Use
got it.
guys. We say use
All right.
guys up there.
Use
So,
guys or something like that. All right, I got it. So so here's the thing. We have this group right here. You guys know this for those of you who jumped on early while you guys are coming up with a question for Will. We have a web page that tells us what we're going to be having coming up on Mastermind Mondays. And if you're somebody who has a special topic, you can actually suggest a topic right here on our webpage. So make sure you check back there. We have all kinds of other cool stuff that you can get involved in there, healthcare and things like that. So check out the webpage, whygrowglobal.com. We also have a Facebook page. Make sure you're on there. Keep abreast of everything we have going on. Sometimes we have special stuff, but we always do these Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time. So just time block it out. We're always here. And of course, if you miss it, we do record it on our YouTube page. Make sure you're subscribed to it. We have over 50 videos there already. Will was on a couple of weeks ago there, and we have great great stuff. So we would love for you to be a part of that. And let me take a peek here. Let's see. We have an Instagram too, but I don't think, maybe it's in the chat box. Our Instagram. Yes, our Instagram's on there too. I can't log into it right now from here on this page. But does anybody else have a question for Will before we log off? Somebody asked the question way back at the beginning, Will, were we going to be able to get snapshots or a copy of that presentation?
Yeah, I sent some video, or sent the slides in, I think yesterday.
Okay,
So
perfect.
yeah, I've got them in PowerPoint, Keynote, and also just in PDF. So they're
Beautiful.
3 different
So,
formats.
Kim, are we going to put that link? Are they on are you guys going to put it up? How are we going to do that, Kim? She's looking to unmute.
It's going to be on whitegrowglobal.com. You know, it's going to be on whitegrowglobal.com.
So go to the web page and you will be able
to the web page. We will have it by the end. Yeah, we'll have it this week because Will Johnson is, I mean, I don't like using cuss word, but a badass, you know, like agent for a long time and a personal friend of ours. And he just on point. So this is valuable information. So that's why if anybody looking to buy or sell homes in Tennessee, you got to think of Will Johnson, you know. Look him up.
You got any referrals for Nashville, Tennessee? Hit Will Johnson up. He'll take good care.
You know, when you send a referral to Will, you know the buyer gonna take care of, the seller gonna be taken care of in a way where it will reflect you as an agent. You know, because who you send your referral to, you know, it's like, you know, you're just amazing. So thank you, Will, so much for a powerful
Will, Stacey and I have been doing this for 27 years, and we always use the top 3. That top 9 thing is genius.
It's legit.
Genius. Yeah. And we are going to switch from top 3 to top 9 immediately when talking to our buyers. That was incredible. And
I think especially in this environment, as working with buyers is changing, you know, like that ability to be able to form a connection with them. So important. I think it's almost going to be as challenging as what we used to look at, you know, listing appointments were much more challenging than working with buyers. And I think now they're going to be equal. And so you have to step up your buyer consult game from where it was before, because it's, you know, the market is just changing. And so you have to get better or you'll get left behind.
This adds value, Will, for when that scary time comes on July 15th here in 6 weeks, when everybody's got to have them sign this NAR settlement document paperwork. And you're just going to be able to have that right in the flow of your buyer consultation. You'll be able to have that document right there as you're having them go through and do their top 9 list and really dig in. They're already going to be seeing some value from you because you're connecting them on that level 3 connection level, and getting them to sign a document now is going to be a piece of cake. It's going to be nothing. But yeah, if you're just a door opener and you're trying to get them to sign a document that says they're going to compensate you, good luck with that in July. So this was perfect timing for us having this. Great job on it. I appreciate it.